Kala Flahiatu, good evening and welcome to tonight's bulletin of BCN News. Leading the news tonight, the government's response to COVID-19 plans have shifted from an alert level system to recovery mode. This means that the response to COVID-19 is shifting from alert levels and a disaster response to a health response and recovery as the island transition to business as usual, following the plan put in place at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. Here's more. The shift from alert levels will not change the pre-departure travel requirements for people wanting to travel to Niue. One must be fully vaccinated and must provide a negative PCR test result taken within 48 hours of travel to Niue, and they must also obtain a Niue Traveller's Pass by completing the forms on the Niue COVID-19 website. It is, though, not clear at this stage what the recovery means in practical terms, particularly for passengers who, since quarantine-free travel in June this year, volunteer to isolate themselves after arriving on the island. On Tuesday this week, after day one, PCR tests of the passengers from Monday's flight detected one positive case. The government says that the health system is now prepared to deal with the virus and its effects, given the measures undertaken in the past 3 years to delay the entrance of the virus to the island. In the statement, the government said that the management of Niue's COVID response as a disaster is no longer necessary. Going forward, the government will respond to COVID-19 as a health issue and not a disaster, saying that there is no indication that COVID will ever be eradicated from the world, and Niue is normalizing its response to COVID as a health matter instead of a disaster or an emergency management response. It has been more than 3 years since the last New Zealand-based judge of the Niue High Court presided over cases on the island, due, of course, to the pandemic. This week, Judge Sarah Reeves is back on the island, hearing land cases as well as some civil matters in the Niue High Court. The return to normal biannual visits by the New Zealand-based judges will also begin next year. Here's more. Secretary of Justice and the Registrar of the High Court, Darren Tovaka, told BCN News that the return of the New Zealand-based judges is significant in ensuring access to justice is promoted.
It's very important, very significant to us to ensure that access to justice is promoted and that we have the judges continue to come to Niue biannually to preside over cases which are listed to be heard by them.
Tovaka says that COVID-19 has had an impact on the courts with the travel restrictions, but people have learned to live with the virus and adapt, and the Niue High Court will also adapt, but of course mindful of the safety of the public and the court staff.
I think the situation in the world today is that people are learning to live with COVID, and that's no different to Niue. We have to learn to live with COVID as best as we can and provide an environment which is safe for people when they come to court and also for the officials and the court registry staff. So we recognize that's a situation which won't change very soon, but we have to adapt and move forward.
The Niue High Court will continue with the biannual visits of the New Zealand-based judges to preside over cases starting in March next year.
I'd just like to inform the public that we have court fixtures which are set for March and November of next year. And so at this time we are working on those cases which are still outstanding for our people residing in New Zealand or elsewhere in the world. But also just to let people know that that's the intention and that judges will be coming to Niue biannually as they did previously.
Reported earlier this week from New Zealand that the New Zealand Government Food and Safety Specialists of the Ministry of Primary Industries are investigating whether several popular brands of frozen berries in New Zealand are linked to 12 hepatitis A cases. BCN News reached out to local importers who also import much of their frozen goods from New Zealand. Here's Losana Sionihola with that story.
Foodstuffs has recalled various brands of Pam's frozen berry products and is in the process of removing them from the shelves around the country. These include Pam's frozen mixed berries 500 gram, Pam's frozen 2-berry mixed 750 grams and 1 kilogram, Pam's frozen smoothies, Piri mixed 500 grams and Pam's raspberries 350 grams and 500 grams. BCN asked local importers. One said that they used to supply Pam's frozen berries products from New Zealand but decided to change brands several months ago. Another importer said that they order frozen fruits products from Shaw Marina's Sisters brand and don't import Pam's frozen berries. Another said that they are expecting Pam's frozen food products on the boat arriving this week, but was not sure if their order include the Record frozen berries. The importer saying that, of course, if their order include the Record products, then they will not be selling those Record Pam's frozen berries products. Last year, the Health Department, working with New Zealand-based partners, worked on a viral hepatitis elimination campaign, making Niue the first country in the world to screen, treat and eliminate hepatitis from the population.
A team from Maritime New Zealand and Infratel were on the island recently on a scoping exercise to improve the VHF radio coverage and communication for local fishermen and the fishing community. We managed to speak to them before they depart the island earlier this week. Right now, the only area where fishermen can use their VHF radios is within Alofi, and access to the emergency channel is not available outside this coverage. BCN News spoke with the team before they departed the island earlier this week.
Okay, we've been in Niue for the past 2 weeks. And my two colleagues, Grant and Joey here, represent New Zealand industry. We've been on a scoping exercise to develop a proposal to extend the maritime radio coverage around the island. Now at the moment that coverage only extends out of Alofi on 2 channels, channel 16 and 11, and the boating community and the waka community use those channels to communicate with Alofi and Telecom Niue and Alofi. And so what we've been doing is going around the island, using each of the towers around the island, 5 of them in fact we've done, to check what sort of coverage we can get to seaward and to landward from each of those towers. And the net result will be a series of options, if you like, for a network using those towers or different combinations of them, which will provide us with optimal range and coverage. So we're looking at getting out to at least 12 nautical miles from the coast, up to the territorial sea, and then also very much in under the cliffs as well. We'll be doing a lot of research in and around the island to see where the shadow zones are for the signals coming from the tower.
Tony Parr told BCN News that having a much wider coverage for VHF is critical to the safety of the fishermen and women in Niue when going out to sea by providing better access to emergency communication.
Well, the primary reason for it is one of these channels is known as Channel 16, VHF Channel 16, and that's an internationally recognised calling and distress frequency. And so if somebody was out there and got into trouble and had a radio with them, you'd be able to do it from anywhere around the island, out to 12 nautical miles, call up Telecom Niue, put in a Mayday message or a Pan message and indicate to somebody that you've got a problem and that you need assistance real quick. And that's what the service will fundamentally provide. But also it'll provide a more, a common sort of a medium for recording trip reports. So any boat leaving Alofi, for example, or Namakulu or Avaseli, they'll be able to put in a trip report to Telecom Niue, telling them how long they're going out for, how many people they've got on board, how long they're going to go for, when they're expected to come back, and whereabouts they're going.
The team from Maritime New Zealand and Infratel include rigger Grant Woodall and designer Joey Weston. They've been travelling around the island and climbing the 5 towers, compiling data for their final report to the Niue government.
We've gathered an awful lot of data for the last 2 weeks or so, both from the land side and also the seaward side. And it will be a matter of taking it back to New Zealand now and then analysing that data to see what combinations of towers we can come up with to provide an optimal coverage around the island, and then coming up with a system solution with the equipment that's needed to put that in place. And we'll give that report to the Niuean government, and they can decide what system that they wish to install. And then perhaps by March of next year, thereafter it's actually quite simple. It's not difficult to install this equipment and set it to work, be relatively quick. But the design is very, very important, and that's why we're here.
Joey Weston from Infratel will be responsible for the design, and he says that capturing the data and speaking to the locals was very helpful to know what is needed.
designing based on the data we've obtained here, and we'll be designing and the network on all the sites that we've assessed, and also in conversations we've had with locals, we get a better picture for what they need.
And while on the island, Team Rigger Grant Wood will also lend a hand for BCN, supporting the telecom riggers to help with the TV Niue equipment located on the Sekana Tower, restoring TV Niue and radio services, avoiding a lengthy outage, much appreciated by BCN and TV Niue's rugby fans.
It was a pleasure to help. It's they'll work to your team, your telecom teams, to work and fix the antenna. It had fallen down over the tower, so we pulled it back up and reconnected it. It went pretty well. It's just a 5-hour job, and it was good to get done in time for the rugby. So
the team are now back in New Zealand and will submit their report and findings to the new government for their ultimate decision on increasing the VHF coverage to improve maritime safety for the Niue fishing community. And in Niue, this month is also known as Pinktober, when we remember our family and friends who are fighting cancer. We remember those who are gone because of cancer and the survivors who live with the scars of this disease. The Health Department also hosts a number of screening programs alongside their public awareness programs. Here's more. For the whole month of October, women 40 years and older are encouraged to book for breast and uterine screening at the Niue Falls Hospital. The screening started this week and will run until the 27th. In the month of October, the Niue Health Department improved their awareness and public awareness of the cancer diseases that have afflicted many on the island since records began in 2009. Last year, the Health Department revealed that the top 5 most common types of cancer affecting the local population are prostate cancer, with 10 men diagnosed since 2009. This is followed by skin cancer, with 8 people diagnosed, breast cancer with 7 cases, liver cancer 6, and 5 confirmed cases of cervical cancer. The statistics revealed last year that 49 people on the island had been diagnosed with some form of cancer since 2009. Last year, the government vowed to find out more about the alarming number of cancer diagnoses in the Niue, even with such a small population of fewer than 1,800. And remember to wear your pink ribbon or wear anything pink this month. And to end the news tonight, it has been a while since the last Constitution Song Quest was held, but last Friday several groups joined in the search for the best musical talent on the island during October. This is an event hosted by the UNESCO Niue Commission, Taonga Niue and the Education Department as a prelude to the Constitution celebrations, celebrating 48 years of self-governing with in free association with New Zealand this year.
Acting Premier and Minister of Social Services Honourable Sahuni Tangatule officially opened the evening, encouraging local artists to write and produce music. Honourable Tangatule says that music is one way of recording the history of our people and the events that take place, like Constitution celebrations. He said that all artists should also make an effort to register their music and the rights to their materials with the Taonga Niue. The winners of the competition: solo first Kalepi Onimutu, John Talangi; second Sepurupulu, Pamela Falani; and third Awe Sapina Fakanaiki. For the small groups, first Kiuvela, second Lilo Strings, and the third goes to Ngahawali Matui. Medium groups, first goes to Hakupu Youth People's Fellowship, and the second goes to Deaf Diamonds. For the large groups, first Whinione Hakupu and second Tamamai Tuapa Youth. The Pule Whakamotu Song Quest will be televised on TV Niue on Sunday the 16th of October. the starting of the 40th Constitution Celebration Week.
And congratulations to all the participants and the artists who took part in the Song Quest. We look forward to the next one. But that's our bulletin of BCN News for tonight. You have a wonderful evening. We will resume with our Wangahau Niue bulletin on Tuesday next week. Until then, good night. Non foi.